policy, the SCA prohibits harassment and bullying of all individuals and groups. Participants engaged in this action are subject to appropriate sanctions, and the slide includes information on who you can contact if you feel that you have been subject to harassment or bullying. So I'm now going to, and I'm going to put that slide in the chat, and I am going to turn the class over to our lovely instructor. Thank you.
Hi, guys. This is Adrienne Devereaux from Malagentia, and we're going to make some cheese today. Just a quick cheese. Really only takes about a half an hour. People have been making cheese for millennia. We have cheese remnants dating back to Neolithic times. I'm going to spill milk all over the kitchen today. It's all right. But you want to use a stainless steel pot or a other non-reactive pot, because you don't want to use aluminum or chipped enamel because it will affect your cheese.
And what did you just add to the pot?
I just added half a gallon of goat's milk to my non-reactive pot. And I'm going to choose a non-reactive stirring implement. And I've cleaned and sterilized all of my tools, which I'll show you some of later, including a cheese spoon, a measuring spoons. Well, we don't really need it for this cheese, but a cheese cutter, a cheese knife. And I'm going to be using lemon to set the curd. You can use rennet, you can use vinegar, or just plain citric acid, which you can buy at cheese shops. Or I got this large 12 ounce container of citric acid at my local, what do you call it? A halal market.
You started with half a gallon of...
Started with half a gallon of
goat's milk.
Raw goat's milk. You can start with pasteurized milk. It's just not ultra pasteurized milk. I like the raw milk because my friends Wes and Chris up at Feather and Scale have a beautiful herd, and I like using their milk. So this is the boring part. Wait for the milk to heat up. Check its temperature occasionally. I used a probe thermometer. You can also tell about when it's ready. You see little tiny bubbles around the edge, and I will show you a close-up of that, probably with Alexander's phone, computer. Any questions? Oops.
Do you know anything about the, like, what is the difference between the rennet and the citric acid or the lemon? Like, I know those two are the same thing, but how does rennet, like, how'd they figure that out?
So probably what happened, rennet is the enzyme inside a calf's stomach that curdles the milk. And they probably figured it out because they were carrying some milk that they had harvested in a calf's bladder. And along the way, it curdled, and they decided to put it through a filter or a sieve, and that was the first cheese. They make vegetarian, quote unquote, rennet. And you can use certain vegetables, nettles. Now I'm blanking on the other things you can use. Other vegetable. There's Gallium verum is a weed, basically, has yellow blossoms, and you can use the yellow blossoms as a natural rennet too. Tried to grow it last year, it didn't work. I don't know what happened.
So is there a functional difference between acid and rennet?
No, you're using
For this cheese, no.
For this cheese, there's not a functional difference between an acid like vinegar, like I have a wine vinegar here, which they would have definitely had. As we know, wine goes sour if you leave it in the air. And we estimate they would have had, well, like the wines that we make now, it was about 13% to 8% alcohol. And so to make a strong vinegar, you'd use the strongest wine that you can find. So I did a recipe last year that Chinini put together for a pigment, and he said to use strong vinegar. I was like, what is strong vinegar? How do I make that? But yep, it's just letting your strong wine go sour.
What temperature are you heating that to?
So I'm heating it to between 175 and 184. Because that's what the recipe says. If you mess up and you boil it, you will also get cheese. It's just not quite the same. It's not an acid set cheese. You're raising the temperature above 194 usually, and you'll see the cheese form. It's called flocking out of the milk.
Does it taste substantially different or have a different texture?
It's more of a ricotta than the acid set cheese tastes different because it has lemon or citric acid or those kind of things. So it's more about what you use to set the curd determines the flavor. To make a ricotta, traditionally a vinegar would be used, but depends on what recipe you're following and what you would like your final product to be.
But the boiled the texture is different.
It's a little bit different. And that goes into, so if you actually slow this process down and keep it at a hot temperature at 180 or so by wrapping it in towels and letting it sit there for an hour, you're aligning the proteins. So that's the next cheese in my series, which is paneer. So you're just slowing the process down and making sure all the proteins line up right. So then you can press it and it maintains its shape. That's why the citric acid was at the halal market, because they generally make their own paneer for recipes. What? And the boring part. Another thing you can do while you wait is preparing your cheese salt. The only difference between cheese salt and regular salt, in period, of course, it wouldn't have been iodized. And you don't want to use an iodized salt because it will kill the culture. It will kill the good bacteria that make the flavors in your cheese. So it's like, if you are a survivalist, if you watch stupid survival shows like I do, you would know that sphagnum moss has iodine in it. So you can filter water and remove impurities with it.
But don't use that water for cheese.
But don't use that water to make your cheese, or you'll kill the bacteria that you want.
Is that going to take a while? Do you want to work on prepping stuff? Or is it getting close?
I'll do that in a minute. Nope, it's not close. So the reason I was talking about salt was because I'm going to squish some. I bought a Himalayan salt block for the grill, and it broke. And I was like, I'm not throwing that away. So now I pound it and try to get.
You want an assistant to work on that?
Maybe I should have my assistant work on that for me.
You expect this thing to break?
Right, maybe we shouldn't use that.
Maybe not. Yeah, that needs a hammer.
Okay. Do you know where the rest of it is?
No, in the bag downstairs.
In a bag right there.
Oh.
So another thing you can do is add herbs. So I picked some rosemary today and washed it. You can add any herbs that you want. So if you're making it for a feast and you already know what the theme of the feast is, go with the theme, right? I was going to make paneer in the last cheese, and I walked away for too long, and it became ricotta. Yeah.
But at least you could still eat it?
Yes, some of it, a bunch of it did stick to the bottom, though, so it was a pain to clean. So, okay, I could still eat it, and it was fine. I brought some to my little friend that I've made in New Hampshire. Her name is Anne. She's 76. I call her Grandma Anne. She's like, what do I do with this? I'm like, do whatever you want with it. You can put it on crackers. You can put it in a sauce. She's like, but it's hot. I don't want to make spaghetti sauce. She even did our cheese salt for us. Yeah, that's good. And I was like, you can freeze it? She's like, oh, I'll freeze it. Okay. Someday we'll get there. How much rosemary do you want in this?
I don't know how much cheese is this going to make.
A pound. Or no, half a pound.
Okay.
It's generally a pound for a gallon with this particular milk. It's quite a high buttermilk content. Farmer says during the breeding season or during the kids' time, which was just a couple of months ago, it's up to 8% milk fat.
So for making cheese, is part of the point to preserve it, or is it just that it's a different food and tastes interesting on its own?
Definitely to preserve it. It's a product of too much milk. So if you make cheese with it, now you've got a more stable product. Not necessarily this cheese, but I made a cheddar a couple of weeks ago, months ago.
A couple months ago, yeah.
And it's aging in its little cheese cave downstairs. And so yeah, it's a way to preserve the ones like cheddar and Edam and Edam, or I don't know how to say it. Those cheeses are definitely period and definitely a way to preserve your milk, because if you only have milk during kidding season, you have a herd of however many animals. My friend has about 26. I don't remember if it's 26 total or 26 does, but they produce a lot of milk during the kidding season. And then, like Farmer was saying that he was saving some of it, freezing it for the kids next season, and saving it to make soap. So, like you shouldn't be try to make cheese with frozen milk because it messes up the protein structures. But you can make soap with it, and you can make, or you can feed it to babies. And I just learned a little bit more about milk proteins and why some people are lactose intolerant, and why you might find another farm. So cow's milk has 2 proteins in it. One of them readily digestible. That's called the A2 protein. And one of them not so digestible, which many modern cows have in their milk, which is called an A1 protein. So earlier in the week, I went swimming with my mom, and then we went to our friend's farm, and she sells products made with A2 milk, and she sells A2 milk. And so I got it to try to see how it's different in the cheese, or who knows. That's cow's milk. I don't know what the protein in goat's milk is called, other than casein. I don't know if it has a designation, but it's also easier to digest than most modern cow milk. At war, it's fun because I get to bring cheese for you guys to try. That's not today. We'll see that next year.
Very much hope so.
Right?
Showing what you're doing.
Chopping the rosemary. It's not a, I don't know if it's a particular style of, I mean, it looks,
yeah,
which is used to make parchment.
The knife is definitely one that I haven't really seen before, or definitely one I don't have. It's kind of neat.
it's called an ulu knife, I think.
Yep. It's from
Alaska.
Alexander's mother gave it to us. There's this
Alaska or Canada.
suspicion about that.
Okay.
That you shouldn't give knives to a married couple. Or cleave them apart.
Yeah.
No, win it, you know. I just remember hearing about it in my previous marriage, which may have been the case in that one.
When we used to give knives, we would tape pennies to the blade to counteract the superstition.
Nice. I hadn't heard that.
Also hand it off to your assistant.
You want to do it more?
Sure. You can adjust the camera back.
I also have to prepare my acid or citric acid. Oh, generally, when you add an acid, a rennet or citric acid or lemon juice or vinegar, you should dilute it. It will make it combine more easily. So today I'm going to use a lemon. They were available in Spain in period. I don't know how early though. Vinegar was everywhere, and rennet was in a lot of villages that had dairy production. Can I have the reamer? I don't know if this is a period tool or not, but that's what I'm going to use today. I haven't looked it up on Larsdottir or is there reamer a period? Who knows? People have been squeezing lemons for centuries. So why not?
So focus. Not the one that you're talking about.
No, there are a lot more when it happens. They're all the way around the edge. Excuse me while I get rid of this mess. Did I talk about why everything should be sterile before you start this process? Alexander says no. Oh, Lissa says yes.
Well, you talked about why you didn't want to use iodine.
Then ways to use iodine, you can't use ultra pasteurized milk, won't make cheese. But you do want to sterilize everything because you're looking for a particular kind of cultures in the cheese. You don't want dirty hands cultures in your cheese. You don't want pink cheese. That will cause listeriosis. It's not good. You don't want that. So sterilize everything. Originally, I had said you can use a bleach solution, which you can, but I hate bleach. And I like that solution much better of the vodka, 40% alcohol, to help sterilize it. Keep it safe. You don't want to hurt yourself or your friends. So Alexander was noting that there are little bubbles around the edge of the pot, but when it gets hot enough, when it gets close to 175 or 180, they'll be all the way around the pot. So that's a period way to tell when your milk is ready to have acid. Or whatever your coagulant is, rennet. It's not what I wanted to do. Alexander.
What? Of what?
I don't know what I did. Thank you. Closer and closer. It's only about 3 tablespoons of acid. Well, that'll set some, and then you can save the whey to make a whey cheese. Ricotta is a whey cheese. I can't remember what halloumi's whey cheese is. Anara, something. It's very engaging class. It's easier when I can hand you something to eat. It's hard to share that digitally. You know, when the milk starts to steam, which I probably can't see, that it's starting to get there.
I can see a little. I can see the steam, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I made a posset, which is sort of a not porridge, like a custard with beer and milk, I think, or wine and milk. Or
I know there's a wine and milk one.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was a lambic and milk.
Oh, huh. Weird. So you're almost up to the target temp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're about there. So then you slide your pot off the heat or take it off the fire if you're outside. Turn your burner off and pour in the acid. Oh, I didn't pour it into the milk, into the water.
The juice of 1 lemon.
The juice of 1 lemon and a cup of water. And then you literally take a spoon and push it up and down. It's called agitating it. I'm just going to leave the spoon in there because in a few minutes we'll be able to see what's called a clean break. It's already happening.
My camera doesn't seem to
Watch
be working.
it do that.
There we go. No, it's.
What's it doing?
I don't know. Oh,
Oh,
Doesn't seem
okay. Yeah, I can see you. If I go to your feed, I can see the inside of the pot.
okay.
You might have to change the layout. I had to change it to show everybody and not just the speaker.
Right. So yeah, if you view the Alexander St. Pierre account, you might be able to see that
The curds and whey are starting to form.
Yep.
And you let it react usually for 15 to 20 minutes. You don't have to wait that long since it's clearly already doing that. I'll wait a couple more minutes and then pour it into my prepared cheese draining situation, which is a colander with a piece of butter muslin in a pot because I want to save the whey. In the sink because
You were saying that ricotta is a whey cheese, but also that you can make ricotta by just sort of overboiling it. Is there a difference?
there is, because if you make a cheese and save the whey, and it's milky whey, so you know that there's still some, it's just a butter fat content difference, really. Because by doing it this way, I'm going to save the whey, and either you can heat it up to that temperature that it needs, that will cause the flocculation, or you can add more acid, lemon, citric acid, or vinegar. Typically, ricotta was a vinegar cheese, I think. When we do the happy dance.
How long do you wait after agitating?
Usually I wait 10 minutes. Today I might wait less than that. That's another thing about this cheese is that you can let it drain by itself for an hour or so. You can hang it by from the cupboard or something and let it drain by itself. Or what I'm going to do, you'll see me doing it, is picking up the bundle and squeezing the whey out and I'll open the bundle to see like what texture I like, and then you can, once you get to the texture you want, you can invert it into a bowl and mix your salt and herbs with it.
Is there a benefit to letting it hang other than you don't have to do as much work and can go do other things?
There is. You also let it cool down if you let it hang for an hour or so, so you don't risk burning yourself. Because this milk was just 176 degrees, right? So it's going to be hot. So I'm going to have to use, I have oven mitts that I prepared. So I have these plastic oven mitts from my brother-in-law, and I've treated them with the vodka so they're sterile enough. And I'll use that to squeeze the bundle when I'm ready. Yeah.
The longer you wait, the more cheese you get.
Sort of, sometimes. Depends on how much acid you're using. I was quite conservative with the acid today, so I expect the whey to be milky still, so I can show you a whey cheese at the same time. Right now, I'm going to pour it into its draining system.
Gloves for that.
Yep. That's not hot. Do you want to follow me?
Yes. You got it? I can do that for you.
There are actually 2 layers of butter muslin right now. What was the word we recently learned?
Or
Frugality.
that may have been one of the words of the day.
It was one of the words of the day. I don't remember what it was.
It's still going.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
It will drain for an hour if you just let it drain. Or you can pick it up and mess with it. Because I'm impatient, that's what I do. Cheese! I want cheese already! Come on! Having good luck with my layers today.
Burning yourself.
See how milky that whey is? That means I didn't use enough acid. That's okay. You can drink the whey. Some people like it. I drank a whole glass one day and had a sour tummy, so I do not recommend that. You can water it down and use it to water your garden. We'll add calcium and phosphorus and magnesium, I think, too. We should have turned on
music. I don't know. Then there's copyright issues.
Oh, that's true. I bet Sean wouldn't care.
Oh,
I
that's what you meant.
don't know. No, that's not what I was thinking.
Although, isn't this the week he's taking off?
Yes. But they're past episodes.
We have a local friend, Jean de Montagne, who some of you may know, who has been doing Friday afternoon performances of various music, including some of his original SCA music.
He's a mod and a great guy. Is he? Is he not?
I don't know. I don't think he's a mod.
Okay.
That's aspirations, perhaps. I guess. It was this or watching it drain for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So
We don't have time for that.
no.
Hopefully there's some cheese.
It looks like there's going to be some cheese.
Maybe that's the cheese.
Trade off.
No. So switch hands. Maybe. My assistant get me in a bowl.
Sure.
Or that's a big bowl.
Sure. Cheesecloth is starting to get a texture of what's inside it.
Mm-hmm. She's starting to squirt out. I don't know if this worked.
Uh-oh.
Should have. That's awfully liquidy. I've never had this fail.
You'd think you'd get at least some reaction.
I hope so.
Boosting some on the top.
Yeah. Tiny one. Tiny cheese. Because now it's just squeezing the cheese. There's evidently my tiny cheese. Not ever had that happen. That's okay.
What do you need?
There was a spatula or something. Not a spatula. Scraper thing.
Scrape.
So do we think that was just it didn't sit long enough?
Maybe. I've never had it fail, but I usually wait much longer. But I was feeling time pressure because it took so long to heat the milk up.
Yeah, things don't go on the timeline you expect to during classes.
I don't know, but I only have an hour before usually. But I'm reusing different equipment.
If you teach it again, you could always have one at the ready to go and one that you show us how to get to that point, so that you have one that definitely made it.
Yeah, maybe. It's going to heat it back up and cause it to flocculate out because that's disappointing.
We have like
A tablespoon of cheese. Yeah, I didn't let it react long enough. It's probably right. Usually 10 to 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. But I know I didn't add enough acid. You're just filming my butt.
starting to figure out how to turn off the camera.
So, I mean, this is interesting in that, like, we know now what happens when you don't do certain things. So
Right.
that can actually help.
So it was like one lemon was like 3 teaspoons or something?
Yeah, 3 tablespoons.
Okay, so you would have gone with at least then one more lemon probably?
Yeah. Yeah, like the recipe that I wrote up was for a quart of milk and it said 2 to 4 tablespoons of acid. So I would definitely add more acid and I guess definitely wait your 15 or 20 minutes rather than being impatient and running through it. So I don't know if you guys want to stick around for the flocculation, but it's going to be a minute or 10 or back down to 123. I've never had that recipe fail, but then I've never not followed it. So follow your recipe, I guess.
Did you say where you got the recipe from? I don't remember.
I didn't. I feel like I gleaned from the internet what it should be and copied it and rewrote it and all that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Or from my farmer. I could have done it from Wes, but I don't think so because he usually makes chev with rennet, which is a rennet cheese.
So you're heating the whey from the first round.
So I'm reheating the whey from the first round.
And is it the same process? Get it to the same temp?
Nope, get it over that temp. It's about 195 to make ricotta. Or boiling.
Do you have more acid, or is it just the heat?
You don't add more acid for ricotta. You're just flocculating it out by reheating it. I did have a cover for this, but it's downstairs now.
The generic cover.
Evidently, the trick is to make it on a camp stove, because I've never not made it on camp stove.
Do the camp stoves run hotter? Yeah.
Yep. Propane fed, and it's a gas flame, quite a bit hotter than an electric stove. But I was trying not to have the accidental ricotta I had last time. Evidently, this cheese this month is just messed up cheeses. Except for the next one. Hopefully. I'll make a particular blue from a particular place in France. But I don't know how long they've been making it, but I got that. Most of the recipes that I've gotten are from the cheese supply company I use for cultures and Roquefort. Here's their citric acid, which is a non-GMO citric acid. And this is the Roquefort culture. Clearer on that side, I guess. I think that's a thermophilic and mesophilic combination. That's the same thing. And this is Floridanica, which is another culture. And they're stored in the freezer for up to a year. Another thing I usually do when I'm making cheese at home is I wash everything in between so I can use it again immediately. What cartoon was that from? Immediate LY.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Schoolhouse
maybe?
Rock. Patient, that's what you bet you before, darling. So how is everybody doing in these uncertain and different times?
I mean, I wish the times to be over, but it sounds like they're going to continue for longer. Because people.
Right? It's sad.
Yeah.
What we can do is make more masks and offer them to those that are willing.
Like cooking, especially at the beginning, was one of the things that just felt like really good to do. I don't know why, but I did a lot of sort of cooking early on in like the first month or two. I've kind of stopped now, but yeah, it was just like, my little thing. You can control and you get something nice out of it.
I'm still doing that. And I've now successfully converted some wine fridges into cheese caves.
What did you have to do to convert them? Anything special, or it just needs to be somewhere dark?
No, you had to buy a certain piece of equipment that controls the temperature because they weren't, unlike I was led to believe, the correct temperature. For a cheese cave, they were too warm. And once my basement heated up this spring, the cheddar was not in the right temperature. So I had to buy expensive, well, the fridges were cheap because I bought them from the Habitat for Humanity restore. So it was all right to buy the temperature things that you have to convert. And it also has, like, I could add a humidifier in the fridge and let that control it too.
If it gets too warm, will it spoil, or just not?
Huh?
If it gets too warm, will it spoil, or just not work appropriately?
I just think, yeah, it won't age appropriately because that's how we have all those recipes from cheese merchants and purveyors of cheese before.
Mm-hmm.
Up to 180. You want to come over and watch it flocculate? Probably take another 10 degrees or so. What's that sound?
It's a door.
Oh.
The background of someone else's.
I don't know what I got in the milk.
Cat hair.
No, these little black things aren't cat hair though.
I don't know.
Lost the other one. Oh, that is kind of here. What's he say? And it's starting to flocculate. See that? Usually, yeah, here we go. It's pretty dramatic. So we'll put that through a sieve and in the colander again, and we'll have more cheese.
How long do you have to let it?
Huh?
How long do you have to let it flocculate? Does it kind of all happen at once, or?
It sort of all happens at once.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
But I'll let it heat up a few more minutes just because I was impatient the first time. I don't want to wreck it again. But it's not quite the same clean break as with the acid. But you can see it starting, especially over, like if you stir it, you can see the whey and the curds. So I think we're done here. I'll let you guys go.
So how much? So you're just gonna let this drain like before, and then when it's done, you mix in salt and herbs.
Non-iodized salt and herbs to taste.
Awesome.
And yeah, or you can add spices too. I spiced one of my paneers with ginger and garlic and smoked paprika and is that it? Salt.
That sounds lovely.
It's one of my good favorite combinations.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for.
Thank you very much. I'll hit stop recording now.